make sure you eat a pork chop sandwich if you're available to do that, because the Kentucky pork producers need you to eat a pork chop sandwich. That's one of my big deals when I tell all my team when we come to the show, we've got to eat a pork chop sandwich because it's kind of part of the history and lore of the Mid-America Trucking Show. All right.
Hey everybody, it's Todd Dills back with another Overdrive radio episode, this one for April Fool's Day 2025, and as my former colleague Brent Hutto referenced up top, back from the big show in Louisville, Kentucky, where I did not in fact get my own taste buds on a pork chop sandwich, but was able to talk to so many of you there and host our Trucker of the Year, Alan Kitzhaber, as all of us here at Overdrive fanned out across the show to cover just as much as possible of it as we could. The fruits of that labor you've seen just a small sampling of to date, a lot of it collected with the Mats tag at overdriveonline.com. Find a link to the collection in the show notes. This podcast will appear there too, as today we're going back to the very beginning of the show for an 8 a.m. Thursday, March 27 panel discussion to set the issues stage for the remainder of the event. The panel was moderated by Mr. Brent Hutto, that voice you heard at the top, longtime Chief Relationship Officer at Truckstop.com, and now a Senior Advisor there as he's joined the staff of the Truck Parking Club Company. In addition to Hutto's, you'll hear a variety of voices in the panel discussion touching on freight market dynamics, small business struggles and ways to overcome, predatory towing, parking, fraud in the brokered freight marketplace, cargo and payment theft, and so much more. Hutto introduced the panelists to start, with at least two small fleet owners therein who will be very familiar to regular Overdrive readers, that's certain.
All right, so joining me today is Jason Cowan. I'll start from this side. Jason Cowan. Jason is the founder and president of Silver Creek Transportation. He's been in it 45 years, and he told me yesterday he was kind of like born into it, so he was been in the industry since he was in utero. You know what I'm saying? All right.
Jason Cowan and 45 Truck Silver Creek Transportation were honored as Overdrive Small Fleet Champ in 2021. Since which plans for growth have come to fruition, no doubt. Next up, another familiar voice in that of Bent Xpress owner Jamie Hagen, whose all-Mack fleet operates out of a South Dakota headquarters, and which was one of two finalists in the 3 to 10 truck division of the Small Fleet Championship just last year.
Jamie, thank you so much for joining. He has 9 trucks. He's been in his whole life as well, which, by the way, you'll find that as a common theme in our industry. It's a generational business, a multi-generational business.
Hutto continued down the line of panelist introductions, then.
My good friend Jessica Dotson, she's the co-owner of Dotson Transportation. They're a one-truck independent contractor business, and she also works in the industry, but she handles she's partnered with her husband in this, and she handles all the back office, which is a very common combination for operations in the marketplace. Next to her in the jacket is my good friend Tyler Johnston, who is the Director of Operations for Mercer Transportation, located right here in Louisville. They're a very large player in the marketplace. They have 1,700 independent contractors that work for them, and then they have a very large brokerage as well. So you'll see kind of hear both sides from Tyler. Tyler, thanks for joining. And then the man himself, my good friend, Mr. Louis Pugh from the Owner-Operator Independent Driver Association. Louis is the Executive Vice President of OIDA, and you also see him. He's the guy in Washington. He's the man on the street. He was a truck driver for, 25 years.
Hutto's first question, directed to start towards Silver Creek Transportation's Jason Cowan, teed up the discussion with business brass tacks.
My first question, we got through the pandemic, 28, 29 months of expansion. If you know economics, okay, economic curves do this and this, just like going to the beach and seeing waves, okay? We went up for 29 months, and boy, it was fantastic for every trucking company. You made so much money. You paid off debt. You may buy another truck, bought more chrome for your truck or whatever that you did, and it came down. Lots of chrome on trucks, a lot of chrome on trucks. And then it came down. It just came down to normal, but it felt like we're falling off a cliff. But it's been normal ever since, and if we didn't have inflation, that's kind of train wrecking just about everybody's bottom line. We'd just be in a normal market, because the freight volumes are the indicator of normality. So we've been 29 months in a big market, 29 months or so in a difficult market. All right, so look at a lot of head shaking up here. All right, so starting with you, Jason. Last 12 months, how has your operation fared with sort of the business operations and problems?
On the other side of a break, Jason Cowan's answer, and much more from the diverse group of voices, all with considerable expertise built over long trucking experience. Keep tuned.
Did you know today's ultra-low sulfur diesel is robbing your engine of vital lubricity? Howe's Diesel Defender is here to help. Formulated for diesel engines of all types and sizes, Defender adds lubricity back into your fuel, protecting your engine from wear and tear, while specialized IDX4 detergent keeps your engine clean and running strong. Plus, enjoy a guaranteed 5% boost in fuel economy or more while powering up performance. How's Diesel Defender, your ultimate engine protector.
You can find more information about Defender and all of How's fuel treatments at HOWES, howsproducts.com. And here's a big congrats to the latest member of the How's Hall of Fame, recognizing excellence and community contribution around agriculture and trucking industries. That'd be Mother Trucker Yoga's Hope Zavara, whom you've heard on Overdrive Radio before. But keep tuned for another interview with Zavara straight from the show floor at Matt's with How's President Rob Howes, when I met them later in the Day of the Issues panel discussion you're hearing today. Speaking of which, here's Jason Cowan's answer to Hutto's question about business performance in the current market for Silver Creek Transportation. Here we go.
It's been quite a challenge, and I think the key to what we looked at was that we stay the course of the plan that we made, regardless of what the market does. There's that emotionalism that says, oh, things are good, oh, they're bad, and we tend to make our decisions off that. But when you do things like what we saw this morning, where you look at the data, you look at what your numbers are daily, and then out of that you can make your decisions, take the emotion side out of it, and just keep working the plan. And then, if you need to tweak that plan, you don't have to be married to it. I think once we take the emotional side of, oh man, is it good, is it bad, out, see where you actually are, then you can make a plan that works, because typically the data.
So you've been adjusting all along.
Yes.
Is your profitability, is enough profitability in the market for you?
It's enough to keep us from being homeless.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, Jamie, 9 trucks.
You got a home? Lucky. No.
You can order one off Amazon. Just saw it the other day. It folds out. It's fantastic.
We had some great customers.
Overdrive 2024 Small Fleet Champ finalist Jamie Hagen there, owner of 9-truck Bent Xpress, headquartered in South Dakota.
But then everyone started shrinking, so most of our customers got kind of sucked up from other companies, stealing the freight from us, so to speak. I shouldn't say stealing, undercutting us in price value. And then, so we've had to adjust quite a bit. What we started the year off, we didn't end the year with, the customers. So we just constant adjustment. Like you said, not sticking to the plan, keeping the plan flexible. Shrinking in size, like they talked about. We went from 12 to 9. So, just keeping our bottom line as razor thin as we can.
Right. So adjusting. All right. So you got 45 trucks, 9 trucks. We're going to move to 1 truck. All right. Just talk a little bit. Tell them about how's your operation doing.
Slight correction. We do run 2 trucks.
2 trucks. Okay,
we have 2 trucks because it's important for us. If 1 truck's in the shop, we have another truck to run.
That's the voice of Jessica Dodson, co-owner and operator of Dodson Transportation.
So my husband, he measures every operational cost down to the penny. We are making sure we're running the right tires, we're getting the right fuel, we're making sure we're spending the least in fuel, right fuel card with discounts. But he also is very strategic about making sure that he's not running lanes, chasing the dollar and losing profitability. So he's monitoring what the rate's going to pay. He's contracted on. Back up a little bit. We were under our MC, and when the economic crisis happened, we decided to lease on.
Okay.
That protected our business.
Which is very common.
That we want to make sure that we still have profitability coming in our house. But there were many times he sat still. He runs containers, so the loads weren't there, they weren't available. But instead of running lanes that were going to be below where we're in the black, he would sit still, and he was more profitable that way. Okay. So it just as you said, ebbs and flows. We've been in the industry for a little bit over 12 years now. You see, if you look historically even beyond that, it goes up and down. Yeah. We're also part of OIDA. We make sure that we keep insurance rates are low. We're always monitoring them. We lean on OIDA resources if we need to. We typically do everything in-house because I'm able to, kind of manage the back office, but really being extremely deliberate on every single thing that you're putting money into. Right.
Moving to a multi-type operation, a very large operation in the marketplace. Tyler, how's the last 12 months been for you guys on both sides, on the IC, on the IC side, and then on the broker side? Yeah.
I get accused of talking too loudly, so
that's okay.
When profitability dips and margins thin.
Tyler Johnston, Mercer Transportation Director of Operations.
It creates opportunity. You know, the definition of opportunity is a set of circumstances that allows something to happen. It doesn't say a good set of circumstances, it doesn't say a bad set of circumstances. I always share with my team that our circumstances don't define us. We live in them and we have to be in them. But it has created a good opportunity for us to uncover efficiencies within our operation. Right. We look at costs. We look at what we're spending. We're very intentional, just like you and your husband are, with where we get the most ROI and what we need to cut or what we don't need to spend on. So it's created a unique opportunity, I will say that, over the last 29 months. I wish it would end. I think we all wish it would end. We can all echo that. But it really has given us the ability to look at our operation and uncover efficiencies, both on the brokerage side and the asset side.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so you're getting a different perspective from Mr. Louis Pugh here. They have, OID has more than 150,000 members and been around since 1973. As you guys listen to your members, and you have a wide variety, obviously. So what do you hear from the members when they talk about, and obviously you go to Washington and talk to people in Washington all the time. You'll see Louis doing a lot of disclosures and representing the owner-operator in OIDA in Washington. So what do you see? What do you hear from the members?
I mean, a lot of what we've heard here,
Yeah.
I mean, already, of course, what we're hearing from our members and what we advise our members is a lot of what we hear as heard here as well. You know, you need to tighten up your belt. It's very important to know your cost of operation and know whether these loads are profitable or not. You know, a big thing that's affecting our members that we heard a little bit about earlier was fraud.
That's my next question. So,
a huge hit to our members. We continue to remind them to work with people they know. When times are like this is the best times to have good relationships with good people, whether it's the carrier you're leased to or whether it's your customers you have. I mean, you know, you take care of them in the down market or in the good market, they'll take care of you in the down market. Right. You know, and that means you don't take advantage of them in when it's good when we have a lesser capacity of trucks. Sometimes that happens. So we don't want to get too greedy, but you know, that's the thing. Like I said, it's been a tough couple years. And, you know, the good thing is somebody who trucks through some of these in the past, if you make it through, you're going to come out a lot stronger on the other end.
So speaking of the marketplace, the spot market, you're going to see rates come back up throughout the whole year, back to even. So they kind of made up about half the distance in 2024 from where they had dipped down for quite a while, for a couple of years, and then you'll see them make it back. But it's going to be a very slow thing. And honestly, in our industry, slower is probably more predictable, and predictable usually means profitable. So I think you'll see that. But Louis just hit on something that I wanted to make the first question because in October 2022, things changed for our entire marketplace. And it doesn't matter where you are in the marketplace, it changed for everybody. When fraud went from its normal amount to about 400% more than its normal amount. I'll let that sit in for a second. We're talking about billions and billions of dollars worth of payment theft, cargo theft, and just chaos. And the reason I bring this up is that it is now the first, when I ask, and I talk to a lot of people in the marketplace, I say, what's the first thing on your mind? They say, oh, it's fraud. It's fraud. What's going on? Cargo theft. And so that's what they mean. They don't. And so it comes in a lot of different ways. It comes, like I said, cargo stolen. It goes to payment stolen, and they'll find whatever's the easiest thing to get done. That's what they'll do. These criminals and organized crime will do. And then they're also doing it. They're also going at it by stealing identity and then standard phishing emails, like just the standard stuff you get from the Nigerian prince every month now, or we've gotten for years. It's the same thing. So they shift back and forth. So I want to talk about fraud. Just my question about fraud: has it hit you? And then what do you do to mitigate it? What do you mitigate? What do you do to deal with it? So,
like you said, it's all over the board. We have members who's had their identity stolen, their carrier, and people have taken their identity, went loaded a load, and stolen the load, and it comes back on them. We've had members who've loaded for brokers who they thought that they were working with someone that they knew, and not under but like a Mercer or a Snyder or a C.H. Robinson, and find out that they'd stolen their identity, and it was a fraudulent load, and they never got paid. And then we have double, triple, quadruple brokering of all these people setting up quick brokers. So the biggest thing we tell our members is, again, know who you're working for. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. If it's some great paying load, it's probably not that. And, check, double check. If you're hauling, you think you're taking this load from a carrier that you know who they are, call them. But it's just so important that you have your own customers and use the spot market as needed and not as not live by it.
We do a talk later on that talks about if the unicorn load is out there, it's not a real unicorn. I always tell my guys that the $7,000 load of ping pong balls doesn't actually exist going to Texas.
Again, Tyler Johnston with Mercer, headed back the other way down the line of panelists.
Fraud is prevalent and it's running rampant. And it's easy to point fingers at the FMCSA or whomever. And I like to look internally at our internal processes and fix that first. What can we do besides waiting on someone else to do something? What can we do internally to fix that? We've established multi-level authentication. If everyone remembers way back when, I don't even know if they still do it, but C.H. Robinson used to have the T codes and stuff for carriers that you had to have a specific identity code. We've done similar processes. So anyway, we're trying to mitigate that risk internally first while using external sources as well, good technologies and things like that, because a stolen load sure hurts the bottom line.
Yeah, it wrecks everybody's. And if you're a manufacturer in this marketplace, you're selling to these companies and you don't want them to go out of business, you want to be able to pay their bills. Really important, super important. All right, Jess, okay, 2-truck operation, you guys had any issues with that? And what do you do to ensure that the freight that you're hauling, that I realize that you're an independent contractor now, so it's a little different, you're working with another authority, under another authority, but what's been your experience with it?
We're able to micromanage, every single thing in our operational system. So I manage obviously our emails. That's the biggest thing. Okay. It, looks like a duck, smells like a duck. It's a duck. So you want to make sure that you're, monitoring your emails coming in, making sure that somebody's not trying to pitch to you something that's a unicorn. But on a different note, we don't deal necessarily with freight fraud.
Okay.
But we do, and we have been impacted by fuel fraud.
Fuel fraud?
On our fuel card skimming.
Oh, okay, skimming. Yeah.
Right, that was an increase in 700%. Being very hypersensitive to managing your fuel expenses, making sure that you're not just paying a fuel bill, making sure that you're, monitoring where did you spend, what did you spend, keeping receipts, making sure you're doing your audits, and then making sure you have protection on. And I advise going with the fuel card product, obviously, and making sure you have 2-pin factor authentication on those. And that makes it to where you're
multi-factor authentication.
Don't be lazy. Don't do 1, 2, 3. Don't and change your pins often.
Right.
Don't just
super important.
Mobile app
pins and
one-time pin expires.
The simple stuff. Yeah, that's great advice. Change your pins and change your login passwords. Change them all the time. I hate to do it. It's a pain in the butt. It's necessary in the marketplace. I rented a U-Haul and I had to do all that multi-factor carrier identity. And I was renting a $15 U-Haul and had to do all the same thing. All right, Jamie, so what's been your experience so far with it?
Well, we got hit with cart theft as well. That was our thing that we got most this year. And just guys getting skimmed, using it at the pump. So we've been trying our best to get through that.
Right.
Even looking at different ways to pay now instead of using cards. Using Relay Payments has got a really good, cool, off your app. So you got to get a code. You can't, and it's different every time. So it's, And I will admit, click on a bad email.
You did?
Yeah.
No way.
Well, it came from a dealership, a Mack dealership that we use all the time.
A Mack dealership?
Yep, and they sent me a bill, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. They sent it in a PDF, or not a PDF, but in a link. And I clicked the link, and then after that, a bunch of emails went out. You might have gotten saying that I owe you money as well, or you owe me money, an invoice from me, and all you had to do is click on that. And it was crazy because it came from that dealership, but I verified it came from the right place, and I'm like, that's him. And as soon as I clicked on that, I knew I was in trouble.
I know it. Yeah, go ahead. Anything else?
No, it's horrible.
Okay, well,
don't click on it. Whatever you do,
it's horrible.
It ruined our day, the entire day.
Super common, whether you're a large operation, a small operation, sort of changing your passwords and PIN codes, but also understand what's coming at you. Do your best to have, if you have an operation that's 10 people, make sure everybody understands your policy on emails and how they work, and on and even cybersecurity. That's one of the biggest problems, and the reason why we have freight fraud so rampant in our marketplace is that we were so busy from 2013 to 2022 trying to get automation into our marketplace that we forgot we needed cybersecurity. And I'm dead serious about this. And so if you have an operation and you don't have good cybersecurity, you don't have to employ somebody for a small operation, but know somebody that can get good systems built into yours. It will protect you and you will be happy about it. It's kind of like buying the right insurance for your home. Okay, you need the right insurance, because if you have a tornado tear your house in half like I did, you're really happy that you have good insurance. And that extra few $100 really pays dividends. All right, Jason, what did hit you?
Everything in the transportation sector is about risk management.
Yes, sir.
And so this is just another aspect of risk management. So inside of our operation, that everybody does what they're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. In relationships, we tend to be a little trusting. Sometimes you can't be that way. So how do we verify? Do we verify the information going out? Don't click on links before we wire any money. We're verifying through several different sources. And then one of the things on the freight side is if one of our load planners takes a load and they just start smelling something that's off, track that back all the way to the shipper if you have to. I'm not beyond calling the shipper and say, who did you sell this load to? Who is the and then you might find out you're the third company down on the list, and that's not where you want to be. And so if you can catch that before you deliver the load, many times you can rectify that. But just watch your processes and make sure you have things in place about emails and wiring money and on your cards and watching those reports. And then the other thing that you hit on was great. The cyber insurance, in case it does happen to you, is not very expensive. Mm-hmm. It's pretty cost effective. And like you say, the tornado comes through and wipes out your cyber life, and you're glad you had that.
I want to talk about insurance. It's super important because and it relates to fraud, because as we have something stolen and billions of dollars worth of claims go up, guess what else goes up? Your insurance is going to go up. We have inflation in the marketplace. Guess why insurance costs more in 2025 than in 2024? Because inflation is still an issue. All right, so it's super important to realize that it's not just like, they just want to charge me more money. If it costs more to replace it because of inflation, your insurance is going to go up. So I want to talk about insurance for a second. And I'm going to put it in the frame of two things. One, fraud, and nuclear verdicts. All right, so because nuclear just means it's a verdict way in excess of what common sense would tell you that it is. You see them in some reporting in some areas. And the reason I bring up nuclear verdicts is because if you see a major fleet in America get $100 million, or there's one I think today for $400 million or $300 million against another firm out there, you look at it and go, "Oh, that's bad," but it's not me. But it is you, because if the judgment goes against them and they have to pay it, everybody in this room that has a trucking operation, your insurance is going up, because they look at a captive audience completely and they say, what's the risk in that audience? And you're in that audience, whether you're a one truck operation or you're Knight-Swift.
Regular readers will know Overdrive has produced reporting on all of the issues Brent Hutto and Panelists have raised here, but on this one, the parallels are pretty direct with regard to our package on the rising threat of post-crash litigation, particularly as it relates to insurance costs for small fleets and independent owner-operators on the commercial auto liability side. We had a recent two-part feature on ways to save at renewal, but farther back a few years, the headline of a series on post-crash litigation spelled out the dynamics Hutto is describing here, namely, quote, how the nuclear verdicts threat rolls downhill to small fleets and owner-operators, end quote.
What's been your experience with how your insurance company or marketplace has dealt with you, the idea of fraud and some of the verdicts that are going on in the marketplace?
Yeah, don't have claims. Well, what I think all of us understand is that every DOT number here has $1 million liability, and there are people out there who, I think it's shifted. We used to see as insurance as something that covered the loss that we had.
Right.
I think in the marketplace today, it's how can I get some of that carrier's $1 million? How can I market that? Can I market, and then so many things are out of our control that people are dipping their hands into. If we have an accident, just think about how many different hands are involved in getting a part of that. So it really is, how can we mitigate those types of claims and how we work with our insurance providers, especially on fraud. There's a lot of good for us. Our insurance company provides a lot of great resources, how to stop fraud, how to stop the cyber thing. And so if we can work with them, and then also they get our feedback on, hey, this is going on. Somebody's trying to market our insurance to get the money that they know is there. Okay. And so that we can, because like I say, if it happens to me, the risk. So
you said your insurance company protects you against fraud?
Yeah.
Do you mind if I ask who you use?
National Interstate.
Okay, fantastic. All right, Jamie?
Honestly, we've been fortunate enough not to have any claims so far.
Yeah.
So, we've only been in business 5 years.
You took my advice.
Yeah. So they just take our money,
Right.
Thankfully.
Oh, you mean you're running a really safe operation?
What's that?
You're running a really safe and protect. The FMCSA is very happy about that.
Crew of guys. Yeah, we have a great crew of guys. But when you're small, you can really control that number.
Yeah.
You're interacting with them all day long. So we've not had any issues. We've actually seen our insurance dip just a little bit over 5 years. Okay. But that's an anomaly. We got a lot of quotes that were really high, and then we just had to find one that was really good. And so we do everything we can to make sure we keep that where it needs to be. Another thing you have to control. Another thing you got to really
just pay attention.
Yeah, because you can quickly get out of control.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah. All right, Just how are you guys looking at the insurance thing as far as your operation?
Fortunately, my husband's accident free for all 13 years he's been.
Wow. How many miles?
Over 1 million.
Over 1 million?
Yeah, he's
it's fantastic, man.
Yeah, but in those miles that he's driven, not only is he accident free, he's ticket free.
Yeah.
Excuse me. He takes really good care of his truck. He makes sure that he. So funny thing, probably over a little bit to larger fleets, but important to us. He makes sure that he washes his trucks. He makes sure that he makes sure that whenever he's running on the road, he knows when brake inspections are going to be. He makes sure that he's not being pulled in for unnecessary ticketing or for overweight. So he keeps his record clean.
Right.
Keeps everything. A lot of people, we have our driver's licenses as four-wheelers out there, and our insurance goes up a little bit. It doesn't affect us as much, but a license for a truck driver is their life. It's their income. It's their household impact. So he does a really good job. He doesn't speed. He leaves on time. He drives in off hours, so he's not affected by rush hour or possible collisions. So again, running very, very strategic with your operations and making sure that you're not impacted by those increases in insurance are extremely important to being able to stay stable in what we've experienced in the industry. And he's managed to keep his trucking company alive. But we also run 1 to 2 trucks because of the fear of adding additional trucks to impact our DAC records and our scores and our insurance, because that is our MC number they'd be running under.
So if you're running a trucking operation, I think you guys are hearing this, pay attention to the details. The little things always kill you, so pay attention to details. Fantastic.
Yeah, from our perspective, I'll address it from both sides: the nuclear verdicts and fraud, and what we see happening and what we think is going to happen. I saw a judgment. I don't know when. A couple years ago, maybe down in Florida, of a one truck operation that received $100 or $150 million judgment.
A one truck operation?
Yes. Wow. Now, that is a judgment. They're never going to collect on that money. Period. It's never going to happen. But the billboard lawyers and everybody else get to put that in as touting that they received this win. So nuclear verdicts are doing one thing big to carriers. Carriers are looking to reduce costs and take on more risk because they just quite simply can't afford a lot of insurance. Insurance is going up, so they're risking a little bit more to reduce those costs. And on the fraud side, there's so much of it. We're seeing a lot of insurers exiting the marketplace. They don't want to insure trucking companies anymore.
Those may not have been the insurance companies you needed anyways.
No, right. So and unfortunately, without complete tort reform or something along those lines, we need to do something in the industry about that. But I do see carriers taking on more risk, and in order to reduce costs, especially at a time like this when they're looking for efficiencies any way they can.
So, Louis, I know you guys, OID does a good job of supplying insurance or selling insurance to a partner, to the marketplace. Talk a little bit about what you see from the membership, and even OID's point of view on it.
Yeah, I mean, we do offer insurance to our members. It's one of our programs we have if you're a member at OIDA. mean, there's a lot of reasons for these things going up, and I know it's hard, and we hate it. We have to raise our rates as well because, of course, as we all know, we talked about earlier, cost of repair and trucks and all this stuff has just went crazy. So, of course, if somebody has an accident, an unfortunate thing happen, it costs more to fix the truck. We also have lots of people coming after us. You know, I'm sure in this next highway bill, which is just kicking off now, we've heard it the last probably 10 years, they want to increase insurance minimums as high as $5 million. And, you know, that's because of all these trial attorneys and all the millions of billboards you all see running up and down the road. Since medical got tort reform, now trial attorneys have moved to truckers. You're the new target. And as you said, we need to be looking for tort reform around this country. Other big thing that we hear, and it's coming at us, and I can't tell you all enough that to try to get extra insurance, and I know it's tough, but it's towing. You know, we've fought for towing reform in a lot of states on non-consensual tows, and that's when you have an accident or something happens, highway patrol calls. When this happens in most states, it's free. It's free reign for towers to go after whatever they want to go after. We had a tow bill in Pennsylvania last year. It was a $60,000 tow bill for just picking a truck up that had hit the Jersey barrier wall. That's all they did, knocked the front left out.
60? Yeah,
just come in, hook up, and pull it out because the front left wheel was broke off the truck. No rollover, no cars, no nothing. $9,800 of the $60,000 was a heat and humidity charge because it was 98 degrees that day. And there's nothing you can do about these things.
Humidity charge.
And what we're starting to see now is the towers were pushing back on how truckers are paying. Now they're lining up and pointing to insurance companies should be paying all these costs. Well, when there's no sort of regulation over these people, it could be $10,000. A $10,000 tow can be $100,000. So how do you insure and protect yourself from these things? But these are all things that are hitting insurance companies. I'm not making excuses for it. These are the reasons your rates are going up, unfortunately.
Right.
Really, unfortunately, if you're in a state that doesn't have any oversight on towers, you're pretty much at the behest of the tower, and you might be able to take it to court and hire an attorney. Fortunately, we do have some states, Arkansas, Tennessee, we just got it passed in Maryland. That's what makes this tough. We have to do this on a state by state by state level. You can't do it in one fell swoop federally. It would be nice if we could, but there's just no oversight. There's all towing state by state. So the biggest thing you can do to protect yourself, and as I said earlier, it's tough to know how to insure yourself, but is if you can get some extra insurance to kind of cover yourself. If you do get one of these big tow bills, if you're a member, call in. You know, we'll try to work with you in the tower. Sometimes you can get them to bring them down. They'll work with you, negotiate it down. Unfortunately, what we see with that is a lot of times, if you can say, if it's a $60,000 tow bill and you say, I'll give you $30,000 or something like that, which that's hard for a small business person to come up with. They'll take it. But, you know, again, you have to have that or another way to get it, so it makes it tough.
I think this is one of the things that affects all of us. And one of the things you can do is when you are, and I'm going to call it a victim of these predatory towing companies, is just don't let it get with OIDA, get with trucking associations. This is one of the things where insurance companies and trucking companies can work together. Because they hate it too. And the thing about insurance companies, their lobby is a little more stronger. They have a few more maybe things in legislation. So the only way to cure this is going to be through regulation of these towing companies. And so go to your state's attorney general with that bill, explain to them, write it out why this was an egregious tow bill, and the more noise you make, quicker we're going to be able to.
That's why it's so important you get involved, you reach out to your lawmakers. That listening session had like 50-some witnesses.
OOIDA's Louis Pugh made reference there to the DOT's listening session back last year about the issue of high towing fees. Find a link to our report from it in the show notes for this podcast or in the post that houses it dated April 1st, 2025 at overdriveonline.com/overdrive-radio.
There was OOIDA, there was ATA, maybe truck clear carriers, and like 2 truckers, and everybody else was towers.
No way.
So, you know, it's very important you get involved. You let your state lawmakers pay attention. You know, if you're no OIDA member, we'll send out a call to action when that we had a hearing 2 weeks ago in Missouri. Unfortunately, because we're trying to get this passed in Missouri, we've had been for 5 years. Should this year, if we get it to the governor, because it's always been the governor vetoes it, because he's got a buddy that's a tower. But we got a new governor. He's not buddies with towers, so we should be good. But with that being said, we had a hearing a couple weeks ago. We sent out CTAs, entire state of Missouri, and there wasn't any truckers showed up. We were there. Missouri Trucking Association was there. Insurance company was there, but again, no truckers. So it's very important you see these things in your state that you can a lot of times just file comments electronically, even you don't even have to go to the hearing. And if you have questions, reach out to IDA. We'll help you if something like this comes up. It's very important to be active.
Rates. Obviously, rates have been depressed. They've been about even over time in the contract marketplace. So spot market's been at anywhere from 0 to 30% below the actual what's needed in the marketplace for profitability. Now, there's wild variations of people's operating costs, all right? I met an owner-operator one time that this is last year that had an 88-cent operating cost. He can make money on any load, all right? Not every owner-operator has that, all right? So real quick, rapid fire. On rates, my question to you is, and this is for anyone in the audience, what's your best advice for negotiating rates? I'm sure Jason, you work with mostly shippers, it's probably some brokers, and so just kind of idea, what's your best advice for negotiation when it comes to the rates in today's market?
Well, you got to know what your cost is, and then negotiation is always how much information do you know?
Right.
The lanes and all the things that. So try to learn as much about what lane that you're wanting to quote, what you can find out, what your costs are. Realize that your job is to try to get as much for your company as you can. Sure. Their job is to try to get as much for their company as they can. And so to know the difference, and the big key to that for us is relationships.
Right.
So,
okay.
How do you sell your company? And bring in all these things that we talked about, insurance claims and fraud and what you're doing. And in that negotiation you've got to be able to sell your business as why you're the best.
So you're saying data-driven relationships.
Yes.
That's great advice. Jamie, what's yours? Rapid fire, man.
Rapid? Okay. Same as him.
All right.
No, 100% relationship. Make sure, you know each other. That goes a long way. Most of the time, when we're getting brokered freight and it's the first time, you don't get the best rate. But the third or fourth time you worked with them, now they hey, I know this guy's going to deliver, and he's legit. So they tend to come up on rate a little more. Fantastic. So that's relationships. Everyone keeps yelling that at everybody in this. No matter what you're in, insurance, it doesn't matter. It's just relationship. Okay. You just got to constantly be out there working with the same people over and over again and being, personal. That's the hard part, being a driver.
You're speaking my team. All right, Justin.
Yeah, so echoing what they said, knowing your operating costs, know what will keep you in the black, what will bring profit to what you need.
All right.
Also relationships. To Jamie's point, you have to make sure that you are a good carrier.
Right.
Make sure you're on time, make sure you're early. If you're on time, early, and dependable, you're going to be able to negotiate a better rate.
All right. Consistency?
Yeah, consistency. And so just stick with the same people. If you're going to be on the load board, make sure you're paying attention to the market.
Yeah.
Make sure you know what.
Pay attention to the market, absolutely, sure. It's market driven.
And go on. That's right.
You know my answer. Know your market and build relationships, period. One important aspect about that, we keep saying know your market, know your data, know your this. A lot of the information is public knowledge. I tell the team all the time, we don't need the farmer's almanac anymore to predict freight cycles and market tendencies, okay? We have better tools than that now. You have better tools than that now. Use them, know your market, build relationships.
Fantastic. Louis, what's your best sage advice?
First and foremost, before you can do any kind of negotiation, you got to know what it costs to operate your equipment. It's that simple. So know your cost of operation. I go with what these people say.
That's huge.
You know your cost, know your relationships, know your lanes, treat people right, do what you're supposed to do, be where you're supposed to be. And he's right, there's lots of things out there. Anybody out there who's an OIDA member or even just look around our foundation, they drill it down to small, this stuff what we saw from that, right down to small business trucking. They put stuff out every month. Read that stuff and research it. It'll tell you your lanes, what's good and what's not. And be able to pivot. That's another thing.
Man,
You've got to be flexible. You're a truck driver. You're not a railroad track. So I see so many truckers in my life fail because they think that truck's on tracks and zip code to zip code. You got to be able to be flexible.
Find much more in that regard at overdriveonline.com, from earlier contributions from Gary Bucks on the art and science of negotiation to our newly released Partners in Business Manual. The Independence and Growth section digs into broker negotiation. Likewise, the Business Management section's pieces on effective cost analysis, a big help, as all noted on the front end of any negotiation, of course. Finally, from the Matt's opening breakfast panel, a two-part question from a one-truck leased owner-operator in the audience that, well, proved illuminating on both growth and parking fronts. Here's how it played out.
When do you know the right time is to scale up, possibly, and how long to keep? Like, I've got a 22 Peterbilt. I've got about 1.5 years to pay on it. I got a little bit left in my warranty, so I'm okay. But I'm thinking about buying a big truck, but I don't know that that's a smart idea right now. So the first question is, when should we plan on scaling up? When is a good idea to know how much money you need to make that sort of thing? And the second question is, what can the OOIDA or the FMCSA do about what I call predatory parking? Because
predatory parking.
It seems like a whining, I guess, about it, because I don't mind private companies making money. But when the TA or places like that go from $14 to $22 to park in the last 5 years, that's a tax on the driver. And it's not about safety anymore, because at this point, they're just trying to get me because they know I need to stop. And I think I know it's not regulated as much, because the TA says that they can have up to 50% of their lot as reserved parking. Some of these places have way more than that, and you can't get in there to get space. If you don't get there by 3 o'clock, which I'm never done driving at 3 in the afternoon, I'm not getting space. Unless I'm in the middle of nowhere,
So it hurts your hours of service, it hurts all across the board.
I think it hurts a lot of people's hours of service, because they stop early trying to avoid anything.
So how do you know when it's time to go move your operation? What size truck do you have now?
Well, I got a Peterbilt.
We run standard Class 8.
Yes.
So you want to buy another Class 8?
Thinking about
it.
Fantastic.
So go from 1 trucks to 2 trucks. How do you know when it's time to do that? And then maybe what's the big mistake that somebody makes when they go from 1 to 2?
Do you have a good therapist? Talk with your therapist about if this is right for you. No, it's difficult, because when you're a single truck operator, you can really hone the craft, and you can really get the bottom dollar. You know what I mean? You're really good at it. The second person will not be anywhere near that, and you double your costs. So that was the thing that shocked me.
Time out. Say that again, please. And here's why I'm asking you to say that again, because I worked for Overdrive magazine for 15 years. Single truck operation, super profitable. Add the second truck, you lose $30,000 a year. They go from profitability to the business is at risk. So that's important. Say that again.
Yeah, when I added the second truck, I thought I was doubling my money, but I actually lost money, just like he said. It wasn't until I got to the third and fourth truck that things started to improve. The other thing is when you only have 2 trucks, if one's down, 50% of the fleet is disabled. It's kind of a weird number to be at. So for me, I excel at fuel efficiency. I took the money that I earned over 3 years, saved it, squirreled it, and then bought the other truck, and that really is what propelled it, and then found a great guy to work with me on that second truck, and then we were able to get to third. So, and then really Bent Xpress didn't come into play until after the pandemic. They were giving away trucks in 2020, right after it happened, So I just foolishly said, well, God, if they're going to give them away, I might as well just buy a truck and trailer, and what's the worst that could happen? And then it took off. So then it grew from there, and that's where everything kind of, and then learning all of the back office stuff was the hardest part.
Right.
Buying trucks is the easiest part. Even the financing can be difficult, but it's not the most difficult part. It's the back office. That's what gets you. I owe everything to my wife because she came in and just took over everything and excelled in that. That's what a person needs more than anything to get multiple trucks. You need back office help that knows what they're doing.
Yeah, I'd like to say the same thing. Yeah. We, have a fully paid off semi, so we do have the 2. We have the 1 for backup when the other one's in the shop. The reason why we haven't expanded is a little bit different than Jamie's perspective. We want to make sure we have good drivers because then we're
make sure you have the drivers.
Yeah, then we're
that's the hardest part today.
Yeah, that's right. You have to make sure that you have a good driver that's going to take care of your equipment. It's not going to cost you operationally. You're going to pay that driver. You're going to have to make sure you're able to cover if you're going to cover the cargo insurance, you have to make sure you can cover that. That's a huge expense. Mm-hmm. So I don't have a good answer for when because we're not there yet. We're waiting for the economy to stabilize. That's first and foremost. But nest egg money, my husband's very good at making sure when we started, when he decided to go off on his own, he didn't do the 3 to 6 months worth of income savings. He saved for about 9 to 12 months worth of money to sustain our household.
Second question. Oh, thank you, Toby. Yes, sir. So to the
on the parking, and everybody's charging you to park and put in more pay parking. What are we going to do about it? Unfortunately, the answer is we can't do anything about it. FMCSA can't do anything about it. TA is a privately owned company. They can do whatever they want to with their parking lots. My heart goes out to you. I agree with you. Unfortunately, as we all know, truck parking and the shortage is at a crisis level in this country, has just been getting a bigger crisis year after year after year. We're down to one safe spot for every 11 trucks. And as we've heard it said, some people would never let a good crisis go to waste. We figured out a way to make money off of that, and that's what they're doing. Right, wrong, or indifferent. I know truck stops are going to tell you that they've had to change their business model, and they're probably correct because people don't use the restaurants, don't use their other services as much as they used to. That's why truck stops, and probably goes to ELDs and a lot of no flexibility in our service, a lot of things. That's why truck stops, we've lost restaurants, and we now have restaurants with clowns or little redheaded girls above the door instead of good sit-down family restaurants, which is unfortunate for our industry. So we hear you. I know that FMCSA and DOT, state DOTs, they're finally talking about this parking thing. They're realizing it's an issue. I personally sat on a lot of state DOT boards talking about new, faster, inventive ways to come up with parking for you. There's a bill in Congress right now, the Truck Parking Safety Improvement Act. Call your lawmakers, tell them to pass it. It's been through 3 Congresses now. It's bipartisan. Everybody in D.C. says we need to do this, but ain't nobody had the intestinal fortitude to go ahead and pass it because they get all gummed up with the money. Yesterday I testified on this very thing and said, what you need to do is just reallocate some money. You're giving cops plenty of money to write truckers tickets for not parking when at the time they're supposed to park, or either parking in the wrong place or breaking hours of service. How about moving some of that money over and build some parking places? If the bill passes and that money is used, whether it's by a truck stop or a city or municipality or a state, it has to be free because it's your money in the first place.
Hear on that, as one of the panelists noted immediately after Louis Pugh concluded there. And with that, a wrap for this edition of Overdrive Radio and the Matt's opening panel. Keep tuned to all of our coverage from last week's show and much more to come besides via a link you'll find in the show notes wherever you're listening to this podcast. Overdrive Radio is on Spotify and SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts and YouTube, Overdrive's Facebook page, and any listening platform, really. Leave us a review there if you're enjoying these, and here's a big thanks in advance for it. Overdrive Radio is a production of Overdrive, the voice of the American trucker. It's edited and produced by me, Todd Dills, with the acoustic guitar and other support of trucker-songwriter Long Haul Paul Marhofer. The theme is Legend of the Snake Man by Marhofer, featuring the guitar work of Travis, the Snake Man himself, Whammock, Terry Two Socks Richardson on bass, keys by Tishomingo Jim Whitehead, and on drums, Andrew Marshall. The podcast is backed up further by Overdrive's own social media coordinator Jasmine Campbell, senior editor Matt Cole, executive editor Alex Lockey, and video editors Lawson Rubsel and Andrew Glenn. We'll see you next time.